Hello students, you are watching me on my YouTube channel, Applied Linguistics with Naheed. Today's topic is going to be the morphemic analysis, and as the topic sounds, it will be an analysis related to the morphemes. Students, whenever we are doing the morphemic analysis, we are interacted with three basic terms. One, that what is the root word, what is the base, and what is a stem. Usually the students are confused with these terms, and they are unable to make distinction or make difference in between the terms. Although they are very much associated with one another, but still there is some difference in between them. And you, as the students of applied linguistics or linguistics, need to go and find out that difference. What I've done is that I have prepared a few slides like usual. I wanted to work onto the board, but the problem is that once if I write it onto the board, of course, I mean the kind of the font it should really be seen onto the screen becomes a problem. So the moment I would be solving that issue, definitely my further lectures will be on to the whiteboard so that we can really create a real environment. Though the teaching on online is a virtual environment, but somehow there will be a natural tinge of the environment that can be looked forward to or sought uh, if there is a whiteboard and the teacher. So, okay, let's take the look onto the slides then and have the lecture formally started. All right. This slide titles as Roots, Bases, and Stems in Morphology. Today's lecture is going to cover the points which I have already discussed, that what are roots or the bases, what are stems, what is the difference between a root, base, and stem. I have used three terms and I'm using the word between. We can use the preposition as among also if you want to use that, but again, I mean, I have put a slash in between the root and the base, and I will explain that what is that kind of the connectedness between these two terms, uh, and how a word is a root word and how it becomes the base, and how these two are different from the term or the word stem. And then we will see that how these, when we are doing this analysis, of course, we represent the word into a tree structure. And usually these tree structures are used for the representation of the morphemes to look deeper and clearly onto the component or the constituents of the word. I have put a statement or a kind of notion into this blue box, and it says that to understand the concept of a root or base or stem in morphology, you should remember one basic point, and that is that some elements of the words are more central than others, right? If we are considering a word, let's say, there will be certain components. If it is not a purely simple word, I'm saying simple word, right? Now we know that in a word, there can be multiple number of the morphemes. And when I say a word, I mean to uh, uh, highlight the point that yes, in a word, there is a possibility of having multiple number of the morphemes into it, which constitute that word. If it is a simple word, of course, there will be just one keyword, which is usually considered or generally considered to be the root word, right? A root word is usually the central morpheme or the key element to which others are added. Not necessarily added. If it is a complex word where there are multiple number of the morphemes into a word, there is a general concept that into that construction, there will be the central morpheme, which will be considered as the key element or the root word. Roots have lexical meanings. If you look their meanings into the dictionary, you will find that there are the meanings available into the dictionaries also. And they work independently, right? They can stay at their own. But at times we see that there are certain root words which convey meanings when only they are attached with some other elements. Like I have put these two examples into the bracket, like lingu, and I put the dash, 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 or the dots, just to show that there can be a component liable to be attached with it. Like we can give the linguistics, right? Lingu and istics. Similarly, arrow, arrog, ARROG, we can add the further component as ands, like arrogance or arrogant, right? So there are the root words. They have their own meanings, but once they are attached to some other components or other components get attached to these, they become the lexical elements and they give the meanings. A root is the morpheme in which rest of the word is built. Now you can have more examples, like if I give the example of construction word, right? Construction. If you analyze it, of course, I mean, in this word, there is the verb construct and then the shun word, TION word, which is put at the end of the this root word, ultimately making a word construction turning into a noun then. So a root is the morpheme in which rest of the word is built. So you can have some more examples also. And then coming on to the point of base, any structure to which an affix may be added. Like I have given the example of disagreement here, and disagree word is written into red ink and meant is written into the black one. If you consider this word, the disagreement, you will see that we can further divide the word disagree into dis and agree. This will be considered as the affixation, which is categorically a prefix and is put at the beginning of the root word. And then after this disagree, the meant component is put as the suffix. Now see that here the disagree itself can be further divided. And to this, the meant component is attached. Here for this meant component, disagree will be the base, right? Now you can see that, I mean, there is a difference. Out from this word, the root is agree, right? In this word, disagreement, agree is the root, meant is the suffix or the affixation that is put at the end. And then again, I mean, disagree is another word. For this meant, this disagree is a base. Although this is not a root word, because of course you can further divide this disagree into dis and agree. Only the agree will be the root word. So at times, bases are the structures on which any affix can be added. Here you can see that in this example, the disagree is the base, right? And meant is the affix which has been attached to it. Although if we further analyze this disagree word, this can be further divided. So for a base, this is not a rule as a necessary thing, that it has to be a kind of the word where it cannot be further divided. For bases, the morphological analysis can ultimately bring you onto certain further divisions, out of which, again, I mean, you can make the division of the root word and the attached elements. While if we consider the stems, the difference is that, again, I mean, they work, the stem also is a kind of root or a kind of base, but here only the grammatical fixation is attached to the structures, right? It mainly deals with the inflectional affixes, like if I give you the examples as I have written into the bracket, that works, worker, worked, and working. In all these four examples, you can see that, I mean, the inflectional morphemes are attached to the root words, right? In such a cases, if any structure, like here, we are having the word work, to which S, ER, ED, and ing is attached. We know that they all are the inflectional morphemes. So stems are basically a kind of the root, the basis on which the further components can be added or attached, mainly as the inflectional morphemes, right? You can consider these examples that here the verbs are inflected because S, ER, ED, and ing are attached to them. So let's see them into the form of a structure for more clarity. Into the next slide. Here I have put root slash base slash stem. Why? Because of course, I mean, any preposition out of these three terms can be applicable to the kind of the word you are going to analyze. For example, in this instance, what I have chosen is the verb blackened, right? So in this example, I will explain that how the blackened word can be taken against all these three terms at the same time. So that's going to be a very interesting example. That is why I put, I mean, all the three terms at the top, that out from this word in a tree structure, we can discuss it where, I mean, out from this single word, we can identify the root, the base, and the stem altogether. Let me tell you that blackened is the verb, which is the past tense of blacken. And the root word for this word, blackened, is the adjective black, which is a simple word. So if we are considering the blackened word, the root is black, the adjective. And then the inflectional morpheme en is added to this adjective black, converting it into a word blacken. So here we can say that black is the root, and once it is made or considered as blacken, black will be the base for the en to form blacken word. Furthermore, this blacken will be considered as a complex word, and to this complex word, further another inflectional morpheme ed is attached to make another word blackened. For this blackened word, rather for this ed, the blacken will be the base. So here, black is the root word. For blacken verb, the black is the base. And for this ed, the base, the ed blackened word, the base is blacken. I would advise you to consider this example. Once this lecture is over, try to focus on the points which I have elaborated. And in a box, what I've written is that in a complex word, like this word is, a root can act as a base, like black was the root. It acted as a base to make a word blacken. It can act as a base for a word, and the same word blacken word, like in this instance, can act as a base for the next word. And here in this example, the next word is blackened. So in this example, students, we saw that in one word, when the internal structure is complex, where there is more words formed into one construction, we can look forward that one root word may become a base for another word, and the next formed word may turn as a base for the ultimate word in any specific construction, like we had this in this particular example. This has been explained clearly into this slide also. The example was blackened, the stem. For this ed inflectional morpheme, blacken is the base. And for the blacken word, black is the root. So in a tree form, there will be the verb put at the top. And we know that the base is the word, which has its components as adjective, the black, and the affix, en. And as we have made further words as blackened, and there is another inflectional morpheme added to this base, the whole construction implies to the stem. In this slide, I have put another example. It's a very large word. That's why I have segmented into different colors. The word is anti. You can look at the bottom that I have divided them into different components, or rather morphemes. Anti-establishmentarianism, right? It's a big word, and it is composed of the morphological units as anti, establish, ment, arian, and ism. Here we see that establish is the root word, and it becomes the base for the next morphological element, that is ment. And then again, establishment becomes the base for another word if we attach arian to it, establishmentarian. And then establishmentarian becomes the base word if we add the ism to it, ultimately making the word establishmentarianism. And before this whole word, the anti-prefix is being attached. Overall, this was a noun. That is why, to present it into a tree form structure, I marked it as N at the top, and then I further divided the whole word into its morphological units as anti as its affix, which is basically the prefixes and the suffixes and the infixes come into the affixation or the affixes altogether. Then the established word as the root, and after that meant was another affix, which was the suffix because it came later up or after the root word establish, and then Tarian, another affix, which is basically the suffix. Why? Because it is coming after the root word. And then at the last, ism is another affix, which is again a suffix. So in this particular example, there are 1, 2, 3, three suffixes attached to the root word, and there is one prefix. So with this example, we can also have this idea that we can attach number of affixes to a root word to make one single word at the end. And in such complex words, one portion or one segment can act as the base for the other word. Because in some examples, there are layers of words within layers of the others. But overall, the complex word becomes larger, right? But you can do the morphemic analysis by dividing them or cutting them into different components and categorizing them into inflections and affixes. So students, I guess that with this clear example, you would be able to have the morphemic analysis by your own self, taking certain examples, especially the examples of the complex words. Now, this is the last slide where I have put a few more examples of on the same topic, and the word categories are nouns, verbs, and adjectives. For nouns, I have selected the words like teacher, books, and disagreement. We have discussed the word disagreement already. And if we consider the word teacher and the books, you can see that ER and S are attached to these two different words, where ER is the inflection and X is also an inflection, right? But as there is no further construction into these words, they will be considered as the simple constructions, right? And here in the teacher word, the teach word is the root or the base, and ER is the affix, and it is a simple construction. The overall grammatical category is the noun. In books, the book is the root word and S is the inflection attached to it. So in a way, the books is an inflected word, and it is a simple construction because there is no further words made into it. The grammatical category for this word is noun. And this in disagreement word, you see that there are the words like agree, which is the root word. And then we make a word disagree with it by adding the prefix to it. And this, after this, we put the meant at the end. For this meant, the disagree is the base, right? And for disagree, the base or the root is the agree. So here you can see that there are complex constructions into this single word. In the next row, the words are taken as verbs, like modernized, destroyed, and blackened. Modernize is the verb which can be further divided into the root word as modern and eyes as the inflection. Again, it is a verb. Destroyed, another word or verb. Destroy is the root word and ed is the inflection. Again, the category is verb. Blackened, the word has been already explained into the previous slide, and with this example we learned that in one word blackened, one component could work as the base for the other, while the central keyword was considered to be the root. In the next example, the unkind word, here the kind is the adjective, which is the root word, and un is the affix, which is put at the beginning. And again, it is a simple construction, and the grammatical category is the adjective. So students, I guess that, with these examples and explanation, you would be building up your own concepts about the morphemic analysis of the words. First, you have to look at the word and you have to see whether what is the central or the key word into it, which will be definitely the root word. And again, you are to see that what further components or the morphemes are attached to it at the beginning or at the end. And that what more words are made into it. If it is a simple construction, of course, there will be only the possibility of the root words and the inflected inflectional morphemes and the derivational morphemes. If they are the inflectional morphemes, of course, they're going to be put at the end of the root word. And if they are the derivational, they are going to be put as prefixes at the beginning of the root words. Similarly, if there are more words made into one construction, like we had the example of the word blackened disagreement. In these two words, we saw that there were more words or two words at least into this word. Like, in blackened, there were the blackened verb and the blackened, right? And in the disagreement, we had the words like disagree and the disagreement. So one portion acted as the base for the next word. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope to see you and talk to you for another topic in the next slide. Stay blessed.